What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing a low skin fade, but the main part of this video is doing a crop. So to start this fade, we are going to use the 1.5 guard all the way closed. And this is just because we have a lot of hair in the way. When you have a low skin fade, you want to keep everything super low. So we are going to clear some of the bulk out of the way with the 1.5. And we're pretty much going to put this 1.5 line where we would put the skin line for a mid fade. And then everything else, we're going to blend from 0 up into this 1.5. Like I said before, we're going to start with our 0 after we do the debulking with the 1.5 all the way closed. And then you're going to bring this all the way around the ear, very close to the ear, because we are trying to keep this super low, and then bringing it down and around the neck. And then after this, we're just going to blend in the sideburn into the beard. Just like we do any other skin fade, right after the 0 is the trimmer. But in this case, we want to be really careful because there's not much hair to really clean off around the ear because we are keeping this 0 so close to the ear. But you make sure not to push anything up. Just make sure everything's nice and cleared off and everything's going to be fine. After the trimmer is always the foil shaver. And since, like I said before, same concept with the trimmer, there's not much. We're really just using the foil shaver on the back of the neck and on the sideburns, but that's really it. So now getting into the fade, we are going to get our clipper back, open the blade up, and we're taking that just a little bit, like half a finger worth of a guide. We want to keep this fade tight and as low as possible. We want to give ourselves room that if we do need to push it up, we can. We don't want to go too high with our initial guide. So once you get that initial guide in, following that 0 trimmer shaver area that we did prior, then you could start blending. And we're going to blend from close to open, making sure top priority is not to push this line up. Now, I know we say we do not want to push anything up, but sometimes it's just inevitable. At some step during a low skin fade, you're going to push up a little too high. And that means we just need to push up our guideline, which is the 1.5. That's the guard we used to clear off bulk in the beginning. That's what we were keeping our fade underneath. So now we're just going to take that and just push it up a little bit more. So once we've brought up that guide with the 1.5 one more time, now we're going to blend from that open blade into that 1.5. And in this case, I'm using the half guard. So just like how I blend in the 0 into the open blade, we start all the way closed, slowly open our way up until it's fully blended. Once again, if you do push it up a little bit, just take the 1.5 guard or a 1 guard open and just tap that line up a little bit, move it up a little bit. It's not really that big of a problem. We just want to make sure to keep this as low as we can, but sometimes you do need to push it up. So I've been using clipper over comb a lot more. I think it's an extremely important skill for a barber to know, and it does save just a few minutes off every haircut. So here we're going to take the clipper over comb after we finish our blending into the 1.5 guard. The 1.5 guard is the lowest number that I would go, and then afterwards you do clipper over comb. I wouldn't go any lower. And after this, just knocking off the bulk, then you can go in with scissors and thinning shears to completely blend into the sides before we move into cutting the top. as I mentioned before here, we're just doing some scissor over comb. This is really just to blend in from the fade where we were with the clipper over comb into the side of the hair that we're not touching too much until later. We want to make sure this is fully blended before we move on to cutting the top. To finish off our fade, just like I always say in every single video, we are lining up the C-cup, just sharpening things up, cleaning everything, because this is going to bring together that low fade, especially low fades. They are the ones that benefit the most from this lineup. So once our fade is all done, it's time to focus our attention on cutting the actual crop. Now this is not a very simple haircut, but if you do follow these steps, it should be pretty straightforward. I learned this from my boss and it works every single time. So here we go. To start with this haircut, we do wet the top and then we comb it into place, laying everything forward because that's where we want the hair to lay in the end here. And then we're gonna blow dry it, which seems kind of counterintuitive because then we're gonna wet it again afterwards. But trust me, it's all about the process. Once you've blow dried it just a little bit, it can be a little bit damp, that's fine. Just mainly putting it in the right direction. We separate that fringe and separate those front bangs from the side. Just go along the post of the natural hairline. And then we're just gonna blend the sides into the top, just like we do with every haircut. So now things start to get a little bit different than what we're used to. Here we're just going to disconnect the front bangs from the rest of the top. As you can see, we're just giving ourselves about a finger size from the hairline. And then we're going to reapply some water. This is more just to keep the hair separated. When it's dry, it likes to fall on itself. It just becomes hard to handle. So you just throw some water on it and it'll hold just like this so that we can cut the front bangs exactly how we want them for the crop. When doing the front lineup of the crop here, I don't really have any specific reason why I start right in the middle, but that's just what I do. Start right in the middle, find out where we want that line, and then just connect it around the side. This is essentially a lineup that we would do on like a buzz cut. We're just bringing it a little bit lower, so all the same rules apply. Straight across, make the corners up a tiny bit higher so it has more of a curve to it, just to follow the natural curve of the hairline. And then after this, make sure to do it to the other side and match them up perfectly. Make sure to take your time with this lineup part because we are going to drop down the top hair that we have up, and then that is just as simple as following the line that you put here. So this is the most important line because it is the guide for the rest of the crop. Once all the final little details are all set with the front bangs or fringe, whatever you want to call it, the crop, we're just going to proceed with cutting the top exactly how we would with any other client. You want to make sure though that this mohawk part, you let the front drop out of your fingers, you do not want to cut into this because that will put a hole in that lineup and that will ruin everything. So you want to just make sure you're not cutting any of those front hairs. Other than that, it's the exact same process as any other haircut. We've finally reached the end of this haircut. If you did find this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.